Good evening. Tonight we track two dangerous flashpoints in Asia, one in the East China Sea, the other in the South China Sea. Japanese and Chinese ships face off at the disputed Senkaku Islands, each refusing to yield. The world watches, knowing a single misstep could spark a wider conflict. Meanwhile, at Second Thomas Shoal, a Philippine supply ship is blocked by China's Coast Guard, trying to reach Marines on a rusting outpost. Water cannons blast, cameras roll, and the standoff becomes global news. These are not isolated incidents, they're symptoms of a long simmering crisis. For years, China expanded its presence in contested waters, using gradual encroachment to avoid open conflict. But that era is ending. Resistance is now open and coordinated. Japan and the Philippines are no longer just reacting, they're setting the terms. This is a new chapter, defiance, not acquiescence. Two nations, separated by geography, are united by a common challenge. They're drawing a line in the sea, redrawing Asia's strategic landscape. The narrative has shifted from China's expansion to its neighbors' pushback. The stakes are higher than ever. The world is no longer just watching, it's being drawn in. The region stands on the edge of transformation. The quiet contest is over. The confrontation is now in the open. The question is no longer if there will be resistance, but how far it will go. The strategic map of Asia is being rewritten in real time. The next moves will shape the future of the region. Tonight, the balance of power is in flux. The Senkaku standoff is more intense than ever. Chinese ships, including disguised militia, crowd the waters. Japan's Coast Guard matches every move, warning China to leave. One wrong turn could trigger disaster. At Second Thomas Shoal, the Philippines' humanitarian resupply is met with Chinese intimidation and water cannons. Filipino crews persist, documenting every act for the world to see. These confrontations are the result of years of Chinese pressure, building islands, normalizing patrols, and pushing boundaries. China's strategy: be everywhere, all the time, until its presence becomes the new normal. But tonight, that strategy is failing. Instead of submission, China faces new resolve in Tokyo and Manila. Both nations have decided to push back, not just endure. These are not isolated flare-ups, they're coordinated responses. Japan and the Philippines are no longer passive, they're active protagonists, defending their maritime backyards. The turning point is here. China's gray zone tactics have met their match. The region's targets are now united in resistance. The balance of power is shifting. The world is watching a new era of confrontation unfold. The stakes have never been clearer. China's maritime strategy thrived in ambiguity, using Coast Guard and militia, not Navy, to advance claims. Each move was small, deniable, and below the threshold of war. The world called it salami slicing, changing the status quo, one thin slice at a time. By the time the world noticed, China had built and fortified artificial islands, redrawing the map. But in 2026, the game has changed. Japan and the Philippines have stopped playing by China's rules. They're not just reacting, they're challenging China's narrative and presence. Japan matches China's patrols. The Philippines exposes every incident to the world. The gray zone is flooded with light. China's deniability is gone. Every act is documented and condemned. The silence and hesitation that enabled China's strategy have vanished. Now, clarity reigns. The quiet game is over. The contest is open, unpredictable, and public. China's incrementalism has met coordinated resistance. The region's future will be decided in the open, not in the shadows. The world is watching every move. To understand this conflict, look at the map. China's access to the Pacific is blocked by the first island chain: Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, Borneo. These islands are a natural barrier, fencing in China's navy. For China to project power, it must break through these choke points. The Senkaku Islands and Second Thomas Shoal are key. They're not just rocks, but gateways. Controlling them means breaking the chain from within. China wants gaps in this barrier, a sphere where its navy can operate freely. But Japan and the Philippines see this as a direct threat to their security and survival. These waters are lifelines for trade, fishing, and energy. Losing control means losing sovereignty in the future. Geography has set the stage for confrontation. The map itself locks these nations into struggle. For China, it's about breaking out. For its neighbors, it's about holding the line. The stakes are existential. The first island chain is the front line of Asia's new contest. Geography is destiny. China's salami slicing is a war of 1,000 cuts, small, calculated moves that add up to big gains. Fishing boats, Coast Guard patrols, research ships, each step just below the threshold of war. The cabbage strategy surrounds targets with layers of ships, isolating and suffocating them. The Philippines faces this at Second Thomas Shoal. Japan faces constant pressure in the East China Sea. The psychological and physical toll is immense. China's playbook blurs the line between civilian and military, confusing and intimidating its neighbors. For years this worked. Military responses seemed disproportionate. Diplomatic protests were ignored. But now, new countermeasures are emerging. Japan and the Philippines are adapting, refusing to be worn down. The gray zone is no longer a safe space for quiet expansion. China's tactics are being exposed and challenged. The war of attrition is meeting a wall of resistance. The old playbook is losing its edge. The contest is now about innovation and resolve. The outcome is far from certain. Japan's response is methodical and unyielding. For every Chinese ship near the Senkakus, a Japanese Coast Guard vessel stands ready. This is not a temporary measure, it's a permanent policy. Japan has expanded its fleet, increased its defense budget, and reinterpreted its constitution for a more active role. National unity backs this resistance. The Coast Guard's professionalism denies China any pretext for escalation. Japan's approach firm, non-violent, and clear. The onus for any escalation falls on Beijing. Japan is also strengthening alliances, especially with the US and the Philippines. It provides ships, training, and support to its neighbors. This builds a network of resistance across the first island chain. Japan's iron wall is not just for itself, it's for the region. The message is clear. Japan will not yield. The defense is collective, and the resolve is unwavering. The Philippines fights with information and transparency. Lacking Japan's naval power, Manila turns every confrontation into a global media event. Journalists and cameras document every Chinese move at Second Thomas Shoal. The footage spreads worldwide, exposing China's aggression. This strategy wins in the court of public opinion, rallying international support. The Philippines also wields legal power, citing the 2016 Hague ruling that invalidated China's claims. Every forum, every statement, Manila reminds the world of this legal victory. The dispute is framed as a defense of international law, not just territory. Global backing grows. US, Japan, Australia, Europe. Diplomatic costs for China rise. The Philippines proves that courage, cameras, and the law can challenge a superpower. The information war is changing the game. The world is watching and responding. What began as two disputes is now a single, strategic nightmare for Beijing. China faces coordinated resistance on two fronts. Its resources stretch thin. Japan's naval presence pins down Chinese forces in the north, giving the Philippines breathing room in the south. The Philippines' information war creates global headaches for Beijing. The two strategies reinforce each other, complicating China's plans. China can no longer isolate its neighbors. Any move is seen as part of a broader pattern. A de facto alliance of resistance has formed. Beijing is caught between Japan's iron wall and the Philippines' campaign of light. Pushing harder risks confrontation with the US or global isolation. The old strategy of picking off neighbors one by one is finished. The salami-slicing playbook is breaking down. The region's balance has shifted. China faces a new, united opposition. The pushback has internationalized the conflict. What China wanted as quiet disputes is now a global issue. The US has reaffirmed its commitments to Japan and the Philippines. An attack could trigger direct intervention. Multilateral cooperation is surging. Joint exercises, patrols, and defense planning. European navies join freedom of navigation operations, signaling global concern. China now faces a network of like-minded nations, not isolated opponents. Every act of coercion is met with worldwide condemnation. The cabbage strategy fails when other navies sail through. China's gradual expansion has hit its limits. The regional environment is transformed. Bilateral disputes are now international challenges. Beijing faces a more complex, difficult landscape than ever. The era of intimidation and ambiguity is over. The world is united in resistance, and the contest is now global.